Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everyone this morning? Rise and shine, little darlings. It's another glorious Marine Corps morning. Hope all of you had a good night. Last night, a little chilly, but it was good. And it's time to get up and get with the program. It's March the 20th, 2024, and it's time to shake, rattle, and hum. Let's get our comments over here and see if I can find out who's here. Miss Victory and Talisa and Willie. What's going on with the 2 Live crew, Miss Victory? Let's get the crew. Camellia, good morning. Kayla, you got the boys pinned up in one of the other rooms? My man Randy, what's going on, Rand? And Juliet, good morning. And Kay McBride, good morning to you, Miss Kay. And Jim Pennington. Big dog's walking, y'all. Find your keys, find your car, make sure you're still out there. EJ, Gail Dogan, good morning. 06 is in the house. Brandy and Tina. Good morning, Robbie Pritchett. It's time for you to start keeping those folks cool out there at the university. Hey, Ramona. Hey, Chris, what's up, man? Yeah, pin them up in one room, Kayla, and lock the door. Tell them the best man wins. Let them get after it. What's up, Rhonda? Miss Brandy, good morning. And Nikki, hope y'all are well. Daryl. Yep, Daryl in the house. Diane. Tell them, Chris. Good morning, Des. Des, you already worked out? Hey, Kim. Yes, ma'am, Camellia. And morning to you too, Robbie. Hey, Alexa, look at you all up in here. Good to see you. Hey, Josh. Tammy Mack. Good morning to all of y'all. Get your coffee. Yeah, the Stang is down for a while. Somebody done drove a car up in the Mustang. Good Lord have mercy. Hey, Jim Mathis. Hey, Diane. Hey, yes, sir, buddy. Somebody, Eric's favorite eating joint down in Greensboro, somebody drove the car up in it, so he had to find another place. Hey, David, what's going on, buddy? My man Jeff, there my pal is, Jeffrey Kelly, Sherry Shaw. Let's see who that was. And Miss Darlene and Miss Susan. I hear you, Des. Keep it going, girl. Keep it going. All right, here we go. We're turning to Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4. We're going to stay in Philippians for a little bit. Hey, Joe. Good morning. We're in Philippians chapter 4. While you're turning there or topping off your coffee, just a shout out to our school teachers, to our first responders, to our military personnel, and thank y'all for the service that you do for our kids and our country and your communities. All right, Philippians chapter 4. Now, Paul is getting ready to close this letter out. And we talked about it yesterday. The first sentence there in that last, some of those closing paragraphs was to stand fast in the Lord. We talked about that yesterday. Now, mind you, Paul is writing from prison. Also, Paul is writing back to a church. He's sending it back with this guy named Epaphroditus. He's the one that most likely carried the letter. He came from that church. He came from the church at Philippi, and he brought a monetary gift to help Paul in his incarceration in Rome, because Paul was not able during his incarceration to work as a tent maker, which he did as an itinerant tent maker, to make money for himself and for the people that traveled with him laboring in the gospel, so that he wouldn't have to take any money from any churches and cut off the argument that people would have, well, Paul's just preaching for money, like many of them are today. So Paul wasn't able to work. He wasn't able to provide for himself or for his crew. So this monetary help has been sent by Epaphroditus to Paul. Paul is writing this letter, sending it back. Now, let's look at it in verse 2 of chapter 4. I implore Euodia, whatever, Eugene, whatever. It's a girl. Euodia And I implore Syntyche to be of the same mind in the Lord. And I urge you also, true companion. Now, we don't know who this true companion is. It is assumed that it's probably Epaphroditus, who's going to take the letter back. And I urge you also, true companion, help these women. That's how we know those two names were women. Euodia, and Syntyche. Help these women who labored with me in the gospel. So now we see that these women traveled with Paul, possibly, but certainly here in Philippi, while he was there establishing the church, teaching and preaching, that they were of great help. He knows them by name. Help these women who labored with me in the gospel, with Clement also. Now that's a dude's name. That's a guy's name. And the rest of my fellow workers, meaning that there were others there that helped Paul in the establishment of the church and in getting the gospel out in that area, whose names are in the book of life. So Paul is writing now, and he's telling them to, correct a couple of things that are going on there. First of all, to commend Clement, and then also to implore Euodia and Syntyche to be of the same mind. Now, let's just stop right there for a moment. Well, let me go on. He says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. We'll pick up with verse 6 tomorrow. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. So now let's back up to verse 2. Euodia and Syntyche. Today's morning word is girl drama with a smiley face. Paul had two women who were believers and who were part of this church at Philippi and who were at odds with one another. There was drama in the church. And Paul has gotten word of it. And you know, whenever there's two women squared off in some shape, form, or fashion, that news is going to travel. And it's going to travel very fast through women. Okay? My wife asked me the other day about a situation. I go, why are you asking me that? Well, I just want to know. She didn't have a dog in the fight. But women just want to know. If it's a car wreck down the road, you know, if it's a tornado in Kansas, you know, if it's somebody stopped up drain or somebody with a kid get with an earache, they want to know the next morning or the next day or the next minute, how has that progressed? What's going on? So here's these two women. They're in a cat fight of some sort, and it has traveled to Paul. Now, this is in Philippi. This is in Asia, and the word has gotten to Paul in Rome. Now, probably Epaphroditus is the one who brought the money, the monetary gift. He probably said, oh, yeah, you know, Syntyche and Euodia, yeah, well, there's drama in the church. They're at each other's throats. For whatever reason, we don't know, and it doesn't matter. It was causing some discord. And Paul said, I implore them to be of the same mind in the Lord. In other words, Paul was saying, in the middle of all this drama, let's remember something. We have some common ground, and our common ground is Jesus. Our common ground is the gospel. Our common ground is the good of the church. So we need to make peace here. We need to bury the hatchet. We need to cut off the drama, and we need to turn off the gossip channel about what all's going on here, because it's doing more harm than good. And that's why when he goes over here, he says, rejoice in the Lord. And again, I'll say rejoice. He's saying that in the context of a cat fight going on in the church. And also, he says in verse 5, let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. He's reminding them that Jesus is coming back. And the last thing that Jesus needs to see among those he has redeemed by his own blood is that we would be at each other's throat, and that there would be all kind of drama going on in the church about he said, she said, they said. You know, the carpet, the pews, the lights, the air, the music. I mean, for God's sake, he says, let's think about why we're here. Let's think about Jesus and what he's done for us. And he says to deal with this over here in verse 5, not just Euodia and Syntyche, but in all of our interpersonal relationships, okay? And even dealing with people, brothers and sisters in the Lord who have sinned against us or offended us or God knows what. You know, today you can just look at somebody wrong and they're going to take that as an offense, or just not say something to somebody and they're going to take that as an offense. And they've just got an offendable spirit, and that is prevalent today. So this comes into play more and more and more. Let your gentleness be known to all men. What does he mean by that? Well, he didn't mean that we should just let it slide. There's some things that we have to address. Paul did it at the church of Corinth, and he's telling them to do it here at Philippians in the letter. He's naming Euodia and Syntyche by name in the letter to the church. And he's imploring them, he's basically begging them to make peace with one another and stop all this silly girl drama going on in the church, and think about why they're there and who's done, who has saved them and why he saved them, and so forth and so on. And he says, now we need to deal with this gently. Gently means that you do it in a way, okay, let your gentleness be known to all men. It doesn't mean passive. It's kind of a parallel lane with meekness, meaning that it addresses the issues that need to be addressed, but it does it in a calm and collective manner. It's kind of long-suffering. It's the attitude of the Spirit that's kind of long-suffering. It doesn't do so with vengefulness, and it's best illustrated when Jesus was dealing with the woman caught in adultery. All right, she was caught. It was adulterous. She was with another man. He's married, she's not, or she's married and he's not, or they're both married. Okay, and soon they both weren't probably. But after the crowd comes and throws her down and wants to stone her, okay, Jesus dispels that crowd with let the one stoner who doesn't have any sin in his life, and they all just walked off. And then he turns around. He didn't say, "Well, go on home." He said, "Sin no more." Okay, he's addressing the issue. He's addressing her. Sin no more. Okay, don't do this anymore. Stop this. Where are your accusers? They're not here, Lord. I'm not accusing you either. I'm not condemning you either. But go and sin no more. In other words, what you're doing here, we're not going to blow this off. This serious issue, and you need to address it. You need to repent of it, and you need to stop it. You need to cut it off, okay? But I ain't going to kill you over it. We're not going to throw hands here, all right? So that's how Paul is telling the church at Philippi, hey, listen, you got a couple girls there that see each other's throat. A, they're believers. B, they serve in the gospel. If we could put it in today's contemporary words, we would say, well, we got the youth minister and the children's minister, or the choir director and the children's minister at each other's throats. All right, that's not going to help what we're doing here. It's not going to help us with the kids' ministry. It's not going to help us with the choir ministry. It's not going to do anything but give us a bad name. When it gives us a bad name, we're the children of God, we're the church of God, it's going to give Christ a bad name. So why don't we bury the hatchet for the sake of Jesus? We got more common ground than we do reasons to be at each other's throat. And y'all need to make peace with one another. And the people that are going to go, okay, and tell them and all the other people that are having drama in the church or drama in the home or drama at work, hey, listen, I'm not telling you to let it slide. I'm not telling you to let it sweep it under the carpet. I'm not telling you to hide it or act like it's not happening. Go deal with it. But do it gently, all right? Do it gently. Do it in a way that, remember Proverbs, a soft answer turns away wrath. Now, this is something I have to remember because my temper, if I've got a weakness and the enemy picks at it and my flesh likes to get off into it, it's my temper. And basically what he's telling here is put your temper in your back pocket and deal with this the right way. Deal with this gently, okay? This is how we deal with it. And that's a hard thing sometimes, especially when you go talk to two women that's sideways with each other. Now, Euodia, I'd probably be a little bit ill with Eodia because of her. I'd be ill with Eodia's mama for naming her that daggum name. Why don't you call that girl something that we can say? I'd have to shorten the name to D. Eodia. Hey D, you and then Syntyche. What would these mamas and daddies think about? Name y'all's kids something that you can say. Don't put no 3-syllable and 4-syllable words on names on your kids. In a fire, ain't nobody wanting to go through 4 syllables to try to tell their kid to get out of the house. I mean, come on. So I just say, hey, Syn, S-Y-N, and D, man, let's bury the hatchet here. Come on. And so Paul is telling them to address this, but do it in a spirit of gentleness. We would be wise to do the same. And then after you say something to them about that, you probably need to take a 3-day vacation because they're going to get sideways with you too. We'll see you tomorrow. Good Lord willing, and the saints don't rise.